what's going on is that your neighbor is allowed to drill the well on the property line and have half of their well zone on your property, so it limits what you can do in that area of your property. And I found out about this because a developer next door to Paul and I did this, and so it limits our use of our property. And I brought up a bill forward that says you can't do, in fact, I wasn't going to push it until I found that there was a front page article of a store in Wolf Creek that was really up the creek without a paddle, because this happened to them, and they had neighbors on both sides, and there was no room for them to improve their drain field. When it went bad, they couldn't replace it, they couldn't get a permit for it, and it was because those well isolation zones from their neighbors were on their property that left them no room to put in a sewer system. So, you know, what's this young family going to do? They bought this store, they have a little house behind it, and what are they supposed to do now? So, I brought a bill that says you can't encroach onto your neighbor's property without an easement, without them giving you an easement. They can give you an easement for it, but otherwise you got to keep your well zone on your own property. And that one went through pretty quickly. So next, if you got just, oh boy, we were running a little bit behind, aren't we, Paul? We were going to give some tips. We're going to give some tips for citizens how to effectively participate, and we'll just have to go through this kind of quick. And I don't think this will be the last town hall we do. We're going to have to do some more probably in some of the other communities too, so watch for that. But as far as participation tips, a few things I would just suggest is always be respectful in your communication and your appearance too, especially if you're going to the legislature. The decorum's pretty important there, and it's just respectful. How you dress shows respect for other people, and how you speak shows whether you respect them or not. And when you get an email that starts just reading you a new one, you know, you're not very motivated to read it. So the best thing you can do in terms of when you want to contact a legislator is make sure that you inform and educate yourself on that particular issue, and try to make some points that help educate the legislator, because there's all these things our government is doing. It's a huge government. We don't know everything it's doing. We're not responsible for everything it's doing, so we need your help. We need you to tell us when you find something that's really a problem. We need you to tell us and give us logical points. Try to be brief, but give us good reasons for why you support or oppose something. When you send something that says oppose this or support that, it doesn't really carry much weight. But we would get little blue notes delivered to our desk, and if that note had some comments on there for one of the committees I was on, and it was, you know, some really good points, I would put that in my file and bring it to that hearing and dig it out, and I would ask those questions during the hearing. So in that way, citizens can be very effective in getting their points raised in the process. Also, it's really important to not expect others to do what you would do. I mean, if you want them to do what you would do, you need to be there doing it. That's just the way it is. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. So you can try to influence people, and you can try to encourage people, but you just have to remember there's no they. A lot of people say they ought to do this and they ought to do that. And I'm really glad you're here, because you know it's we. We are the ones that have to do things. We have to be informed. We have to make change. That's why I got into politics. It wasn't because I wanted to. It was because I knew I couldn't wait for someone else to fix it anymore. I had to jump in and get involved in it. I suspect the same thing from these fine gentlemen sitting next to me. There is a legislative website. You can check, and on every single Montana legislator, you can click on a legislator. This is my page, and it shows all the bills that we've introduced and what the status of them is. You can click on that bill, and you can see when it's scheduled for hearings. And when you want to send a comment on something, it's best to send it in a timely fashion when that bill is moving through the process, rather than a month before or a month after. So you kind of got to pay attention to what the schedule is too. And it's hard. I mean, I had this kind of mess from trying to track my own bills and where they were at in the process. So it takes some diligence. You have to spend some time. And with that, we wanted to leave some time for questions and answers on things that we can do.
I'm going to be the moderator for the questions and answers, and sorry I kept standing up and sitting down and stuff. Just a second, please. But I was given an agenda with topics that went from 6:33 to 6:38. That was very detailed to try to keep on this. And our lovely senator from Sanders County can go 5 minutes over to your question and answer period. So we have, we're going to be out of here in 13 minutes, or we're going to be done here in 13 minutes because there's another meeting coming. So we have opportunity for questions and answers.
take it from, right now term limits are you spend 8 years in the House, you get kicked out, then you spend 8 years in the Senate, and you're done for a certain amount of time. There's one that was actually going to change it to just 16 years wherever. So if you built, work in the House, if you really didn't want to go to the Senate, which some of us might feel that way after seeing some of the Senate, not Jennifer wasn't part of it, but there's a lot of banging of coffee cups on desks and screaming and stuff in there. So it would have just taken it to a flat 16, and then the bill was amended to 16 for lifetime, and a lot of people didn't like that because, for a lot of folks, 16 years in the legislature in a lifetime, okay. But maybe some of us are legislators in their 20s, and maybe they want to come back in their 70s, and when they're older and wiser. But it got re-amended back, and it died in the Senate, I think. So that was the one term limit bill, just tried to make it a flat 16 wherever instead of 8 and 8.
I would like to make a short comment about term limits. I was ready to quit after 8 years, so that was fine. But with term limits, you lose the institutional knowledge. And when you talked about the one-stop shopping for permitting, so the Democrats were in control for 40 years, and then we Republicans were in control for 10 years. During that 10 years, while I was up there, we created the one-stop shopping for term limits. So you went to one building and you got all your permits to do anything, everything. And then, after our 10 years, the Democrats took control again. And I'm sure that's how that got messed up, because they wanted to hire more people, grow government employees, and so let's send them over here for this and over there for that.
Yeah, the one thing I had a little bit of a revolution about term limits, and I'm married to a man that's always saying, we gotta vote out the incumbent, whoever it is, But and I'm really not interested in being a career politician, but I do believe that the only way we're gonna get this country turned around is if we take the initiative to find out who the good ones are, who the principled people, who the hard workers are, who the ones that are actually going there and doing what they said they would do, and you keep them in there and you send them some more just like them, and that's the only way we're ever gonna get it turned around. So the whole term limits thing, I don't think that's a salient argument. I think that you need to look for quality, not look at the numbers someone's been there.
But how do you...
Follow up on that, we've got 3 freshman legislators here. This is their first time in there. But you've got lobbyists and bureaucrats there that are in the halls all the time that have been there for 20 years. They get paid lots of money to be there and influence stuff. So we got people that are learning on the job the best they can against people with 20 years of experience on how to manipulate government.
But how do you deal with people like John McCain? And, they've been there, and they've been there, and they've been there, and they are no longer what they say they are.
That's it.
And how do you get rid of them if you don't have term limits?
You have to have a educated voting populace. And the voting populace has to take responsibility for learning what they're doing and not just going by name recognition and commercials and whether they look good on TV. All of us have to share that information, be willing to share that information with other people to educate other voters to make the right choices. And a lot of it starts right here at the grassroots level, your local school boards, your local city councils and county commissioners. A lot of those folks are the ones that move up through their political ranks. So if you can get some good people in at this level and keep supporting them and move them up, I think that's one of the ways. I just came to the revelation a while ago that this country's not going to change from the top down. It's going to have to happen from the bottom up.
But then we've got so much going on in schools with no civics being taught, no government being taught. How do you get to those people?
That's why being involved in your school board, if you're not on it, go to the meetings and make sure that you're working with them to bring your insights to them. And you don't want to just show up and complain. You want to roll up your sleeves and be part of helping find what the solutions are.
Can you guys overturn the government or governor deal at all? What does it take?
I made the first motion of the session to override the governor. When he vetoed one of my bills that passed unanimously out of the House and 43-7 in the Senate. So second to last day, 11 o'clock at night, I stood up and made the motion to override the veto. And to override the veto, you need 2/3 vote. Now, you'd think if you had 98 votes the first time, that everybody would say, oh, we like the bill, we're definitely going to, no, it becomes partisan. And I got bipartisan support, but I was 3 votes shy on my override. I don't think we have had any. And then any bills that get overridden after the session, so we'll finish our business and conclude. If he vetoes any bill that received more than 2/3 support, we get a ballot in the mail. And
That's what these are.
that's
These
what
are the
these are.
stack of stuff that you vetoed that they sent out to pull us.
And not just vetoed, but vetoed and had 2/3 support of the legislature, so bipartisan support, so.
So the chances of overriding aren't very good because the Democrats are gonna tend to lock up and support their governor. That's what happened on Nick's bill in the Senate, Representative Schwaderer's bill in the Senate. His bill was to uphold the Constitution and prevent, it was section 1020 and 1021 of the National Defense Authorization Act and the NDAA, which Congress passed back in 2011. The President signed into law on New Year's Eve 2011, and what it does is it throws the Bill of Rights out the window and says that the military can come in and arrest you without charges, without a warrant, without cause, and they can detain you indefinitely, put you away somewhere where nobody knows where you are and you don't get a trial. It's up to them to decide, and all they have to do is suspect you of being involved in terrorism. And terrorism is a very serious thing, but we also know that there's other things that are being done. Not everyone in government is honest, and sometimes they'll use their power to take out their enemies or their opponents. So that's a very important part of our Constitution to uphold, to make sure that every single citizen gets due process of law. This goes back way before our Constitution, back to the Magna Carta, back in the 1200s. People just wanted the laws to apply equally to all people. And we'll never want to change from that, but we have a Congress and a president right now that went along with throwing that one out the window, and so Representative Schwaderer's bill said that the state of Montana would not comply with any federal attempts to implement those sections of the NDAA. It got huge support, but our governor vetoed it.
Well, Rager voted for that in the House.
I think he voted for part of it, but then he ended up changing.
He voted for it and finally, I believe.
Yeah, you gotta watch.
Yeah, we had cleaning of houses to do in our party.
The first question I have, is there another meeting in this room that anybody knows about?
Yeah.
What is the group?
At 7:30, there's going to be a group here that's going to be working on Common Core.
Okay.
Concerns of Common
We
Core.
were thinking it was a chamber meeting and that's in order. And so my real question though is, you brought up the whole issue of healthcare and healthcare reform, and Jennifer Senator Feilder was very gracious and came and met with us at 4:30 and Paul was there. But we have these $400 cushions and all this cost. If you study healthcare, like our health
And then there's also talk of a lot of groups the last 2 weeks have been pushing for a special session on this issue. A lot of the hospitals, a lot of the various political organizations across the state are sending out petitions and whatnot. And then the governor hasn't ruled out calling a special session, so that might happen in interim as well.
Got time for one last question from Patrick here again.
I'd like to address the three of you. I might be crying before we get hurt, but we have an issue coming up because of redistricting. There's a section of precinct 6 in Plains that's going to be cut off and pushed over to precinct 5 in Thompson Falls. Sounds kind of benign by itself, except they didn't consider the river running down there. And the minimum drive that some of them people are going to have to make to go to the polls is 30 miles. Some of us on the far end are going to have to drive 100 miles round trip to go to the polls. Now, we've already served notice to the commissioners that we're going to request for another precinct. And I fully suspect we're going to get some pushback. They've already indicated they don't like the idea. As soon as it's official that where the line is going to be, we've already got plans made to canvass that area, approximately 220 registered voters that are going to be involved in this. We'll get the majority of these people, we're going to present the petition to the commissioners and ask that another precinct be put in place so that we don't have to drive so far. If they push back, we're going to have to come looking for help. And you three, the one we really need isn't here tonight, but you three, we're hopeful, stand up and give us a hand on this.
Yeah, Representative Ingraham was invited, and she just, I think had some other things that she wanted to spend her time on now that she's turned out and she's done it. She just said she had some family things she was going to concentrate time on. But we'll discuss that and we'll figure out how we can help with that situation. People should be able to get to the polls more reasonably than that. Can we just take the one last question in the green sweater? Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you have any updates on the federal request for repayment of the secure rural schools money?
Yeah, that's something that we're going to be taking a hard look at with my federal land study bill. We're going to be looking at all these different issues. I've got the file on that. This is just part of it right here, but I've been saving the articles that deal with that. They've reneged on not only secure rural schools fund. We've got congressional people that know that this is a problem, that we can't pay the counties any longer to let these lands sit here and go to waste. We've got to be able to get people back to work in the woods, to harvest some of the resources out of these lands. Everything that we wear and we eat and we live in is made from natural resources in one form or another. So it's not going to be a quick solution. It's probably not going to help this year, but we've got to get back to the basics in terms of what makes our economy go, and natural resources are a big part of that. And they've also said they're not going to pay the mineral royalty payments for the drilling that's going on. Some of the things that they're taking out of the state of Montana, they're not going to give back to us. The payment in lieu of taxes, these federal lands, they're not paying taxes. We're going to, because it's federal, we're going to take a look at that. And there's one piece of legislation that Utah passed that I'm particularly interested in, and that is that they're demanding the title of those federal lands back to the state of Utah. And several states are coming on the bandwagon, including some eastern states that are tired of subsidizing the secure rural schools and payment in lieu of taxes, and they're subsidizing, the rest of the country is subsidizing us not to utilize these resources in our lands. So,
Senator, that's what that display in the back of the American Land Council information.
Okay, good.
More information on that topic.
Yeah, that'd be great if you go visit with Clarice back there if you get a chance. And with that, Deborah, you've got the room. We've got a couple more minutes, but thank you, Deborah. Let's go ahead.
If the governor would call a special session session, is it possible for this healthcare Medicaid issue that they could tack on the compact, the CSKT compact to that?
Well, I don't know if that would come up again in a special session or not, if they would, I don't know.
You know, that when if a special session's called, it has to be called for a defined purpose. So in my, everybody obeys the rules, constitutional, law land, it couldn't happen. But then again, we saw plenty of things that could and shouldn't happen this session with things getting thrown onto bills. Practically, I don't think it would. But, you know, we've seen the rules broken before.
Well, the tribe is really very confident that that will happen.
At least there's, you know, I could not see one drafter at that Capitol drafting someone an amendment to put the water compact on a Medicaid bill. Could you see that?
Well, no, I wouldn't see that.
I'm just saying, I see that as drafters, right? They help draft so the language is official, and I just...
It still has to be assigned to a committee. And that's where we killed all the compact bills. One was in judiciary in the House, and one was in appropriations. We killed them both. And this session, to get something killed in appropriations was really a major feat. So I think we're pretty solid there. Hopefully.
The legislature had nowhere near the votes to support that water compact. Yeah, I saw it wasn't even close.
Yeah, the Medicare thing, or Medicaid was a really close, it came down to one vote. The compact, there was the supermajority that knew that it wasn't ready, so I don't see that right now on the horizon. But in politics, you never know, things change, there's kind of behind the scenes whirlwinds that happen, and sometimes it just hits you blindsided.
But if he vetoed the governor's bullet, vetoed the water compact, the extension, then it's going to go through as is in June of 2013, correct?
The compact commission will expire in June of 2013. The compact itself will come back to the legislature to be voted on in 2015.
Okay.
We have to vote on it.
It cannot.
No, and we might, you know, the water policy interim committee that I'm on might come up with alternative legislation, another compact. I don't know. One more.
Christopher Sebastian, Roman, and I'm a little out of town, so I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but have you guys got the drift of what's going on with what I refer to as the BLM ripple, where there's a lot of land, and mostly this is going to be in reservation areas, but it kind of slops over into Sanders County. If your land was taken out of trust and was not properly transferred out of the BLM through a proper title, there are people that had land with probably a bogus title or a very heavy cloud over it that was transferred out into the county for tax purposes, but they do not have BLM fee patented title to that land.
Are you talking about the BIA, Bureau of Indian
No, I'm
Affairs?
talking about the BLM. You don't really own a piece of property that came out of trust until it has been properly transferred out of the federal government's roster of BLM properties. If it's still sitting in the BLM roster, the tribe still gets a stipend or a credit and fees from the federal government for it. And until it is transferred out of there, you do not have fee simple title to it. It's not patented.
Okay.
However, it can still end up in the county register and on the tax rolls there, so you may find yourself paying taxes on a piece of property that you technically do not own and from which you might technically be evicted.
Was that homesteaded? Is that how it got out of BLM?
No, these are pieces of property that were originally in tribal trust held by the federal government on the BLM rosters. If a tribal member supposedly were to take that property out of trust and transfer it as fee simple property, sell it to another tribal member or to a non-tribal member, you would hope that it would be fee simple, or the purchaser thereof would think that it would be fee simple. And reason I bring that up is it has to do with the compact. They're worried about quantification of water on the reservations, which of course is spilled over off the reservation, but they're worried about quantification of water. I don't know how you quantify the water technically until you quantify the ownership of the land.
Yeah, some folks talked to me, I think from the Lake County area about that issue earlier this week, and if you would make sure to put your information on one of those clipboards and mark my name on there so I can follow.
I have a limited number of cards on that have a website address that you can follow this on.
Okay.
I'm more than glad to
Okay,
pass
and
it.
anyone else, if we didn't get to your issue or your question, or you just want us to, if you want to be in touch with us, and we'd love to be able to communicate with you, I mean, email's a really cheap way for us to stay in touch, and just please do fill out one of those forms with your name and address and your email information, your phone number, or whatnot, and there's room on there to make any comments or ask any questions that you'd like us to follow up on for you. And with that, thank you very much, Deborah, for allowing us some extra time. I want to say thank you to Representative Schwaderer, Representative Glim, my husband Paul Feilder for helping put this together. And you know, we got some legislation passed and we got some good things passed, and we did not go there to fight party lines. We went there to help the people of Montana, and we looked for things that we could get passed with bipartisan support. And I think we saw some pretty good successes, especially as freshman legislators, and we're looking forward to going back and doing even better next time. So thank you for being here tonight.
I met you